What is the definition of a professional skateboarder? It might sound like a dumb question, and maybe it is, but for the longest time, you know what it was? A skateboarder with a pro model board. Seems like a simple enough answer, right? I guess we could go deeper and just look what the conventional definition of a professional is. A person engaged in a specific activity, especially a sport or branch of performing arts, as a main paid occupation rather than a pastime. Okay. This has always been a hot topic in skateboarding, and it tends to be very hard to get a consensus on the definition as the skate industry evolves over time. I think to explore this topic, we need to go back to the glory days of skateboarding and start exploring from there. The year is 2005. You're scrolling MySpace and you see Danny Way jumping over the Great Wall of China. You hear Viva La Bam playing on the TV before slipping in your Baker 3 DVD. Back in this era of skateboarding, the one and only most important thing was which board company you're sponsored by. This was before social media existed, so the only way young skaters would consume your content is when the company decided to release a video, went on tour, or bought some ad slots in a magazine. It wasn't possible to do any of this on your own, and without this company doing this for you, no skaters would never know that you existed. If you're in your 20s now, it might actually be a little bit hard for you to comprehend, but there was a world before social media existed. Back in this time period, there was a lot of eyes on skateboarding, and they were looking up to a small pool of top pros. So if you could finally manage a way to break into this exclusive group, you would be able to make a comfortable living, at least while you're skating well. As things progressed over time, the flagship sponsor started to shift from a board company to a shoe company. It became known that if you didn't have a pro shoe, you probably weren't making that much money at all. Something started to become lost when this happened, as some skaters didn't even have a board sponsor but had the pro skater status, purely from the shoe company. This would go into shift again as the flagship sponsor changed from shoes to energy drinks, and that did sort of have an impact on the culture. While this was happening, we started to see a rise in social media. People could gain popularity without being sponsored by a board company or even having any sponsors at all. You might think this is great, and all skaters would appreciate it, because now no one can stand in your way. But you would be severely mistaken. I think the reason people were so adverse to this is because the way social media tends to work is that if you showcase entertaining things, people will gravitate towards it. So what that meant for skateboarding is now to make it in skating is you needed to become more entertaining, whereas before it was purely focused on skill. To get put onto these board companies would only ever happen if you were at a certain skill level. As things progress, a lot of these legacy pros aren't quite making enough to survive and really just have normal part-time jobs or even full-time jobs while still being these elite skaters. By the way, I did make a full video about the pro skater dream and the current state of the skate industry. You can find that right in the corner there. Now these self-made pros were starting to make money on their own without a board company. Two things were occurring while this was all happening. Number one is that skaters got way better. Now it's extremely common to see random skaters so unbelievably good with zero sponsors. I guess it's just how the sport has progressed, but the level of skating these days is truly insane. And two, it's become really easy to start your own board company and make your own boards. You can basically do it in a few clicks with barely any upfront costs. So that leaves us in a situation now where there's the most great skaters there's ever been, and there's an infinite amount of board companies. So the pie is getting sliced thinner and thinner and thinner. Now there isn't really that group that are making a living as a traditional name on board kind of pro. So if we're sticking with the definition of making a living from skating, honestly it kind of barely fits that demographic. We also see these famous content creators / influencers like Steve-O, Danny Duncan, Lil Wayne with signature boards. Everyone knows that they're not real pro skaters, but they do have their name on the board, right? Are these pro models or are these merch boards? So it does take a little bit away from the definition of, do you have your name on a board? I think a fun exercise could be trying to rank where different skaters should fit on a scale of content creator influencer to real pro. Even my own journey in skating has been an interesting question mark where I would place on the scale. I first got a signature board from a big company in Australia, and I would sell hundreds of boards, but not thousands, and I would make a small amount of money. Then moving to the US, I had boards with Braille Skateboarding, the former biggest skateboarding YouTube channel, and then now I've decided to start my own company and turn myself pro. Sorry to interrupt my own nice, well-formulated video essay, but I did want to announce that yes, I actually am dropping my new boards right here. I'm saying that these are a merch board now that I'm kind of entering my influencer live streamer era, but I thought the graphic was pretty cool. It is available now on ilikeskate.com, linked in the description. You can get a bunch of different sizes. Maybe we'll do some more graphics in the future, but I did partner directly with a wood shop, so I'm not really having a company, but a lot of you guys are always pestering me for this, so I did finally pull the trigger on it. I think it's pretty cool. I'm hyped on it. Let's get back to the video essay. But anyway, what really does define a pro skater? It used to be simple that if you had a pro model board, you were a pro. But as skateboarding has evolved, the definition has blurred. Some of the most talented skateboarders struggle to make a living, while others who might not be as technical skilled build their careers through content. If I had to define it, I would say it's someone who has become good enough at skateboarding that they can make a living from it. But that's just my take, and I know this is a topic that people have very, very strong opinions on, so I'll throw it out to you. What defines a pro skater? Is it based around skill? Is it based around reach and marketability? Or is it some kind of gray all the way in between those things? But let me know exactly in the comments. Check out my new boards, and that is it for this video. I like skate.